Yeah, a good evening to all of you. Good afternoon to colleagues from all over where you are. A good morning to those maybe in the Europe, but here in and also here in Indonesia. It's a morning already because it's past midnight. So for today, I would like to discuss protocol development and literature search. So along our whole discussion, we shall be looking at the protocol itself, understand its content, and also look at the use of AI in uh, such creation, something like that, or what we can call as we are going to use AI in developing of search terms, and also I think we are going also to use it in the search strategy formulation along. Um, so really the importance of a protocol. A protocol is a plan on how you're going to do your systematic review. So it entails all the processes, okay? All the way from who are your affiliates, what methodology will you use, how will you analyze the data, and all that. However, these are some of the importances that it is really a foundation for your research. So it serves up as a predefined methodological roadmap that guides your whole systematic review. And it also enhances integrity because if you have a plan, that means you've been transparent enough. And if I have your plan, give an example of a house plan, I can easily duplicate that same plan and make, if I follow that same plan, I can still build the same house. So that is what we call as a reproducibility. So it is very crucial for a systematic review to be able to be reproducible and also to be transparent in that manner. So the protocol as well, it minimizes bias. Bias is unfairness. So in terms of how you select, how you analyze the data. So if you have a predefined methodology, you are trying to limit the bias, the unfairness, because you've already stipulated on how you're going to deal with all the matters within the systematic review. So the other importance of a protocol is boosting efficiency. And efficiency, this is the ability of the ability to produce a desirable outcome or the expected outcome. So if you have a well-developed protocol, you are at least sure that you will achieve your results because you have a clear picture on how you will achieve each and every outcome. So that is what I mean by efficiency. So what are the components of a systematic review? It has the administrative, but a protocol. It has the administrative information, the methodology, and the evaluation. So under the protocol, where there is, if we consider looking at the Prospero, this is how it is outlined, where you'll have to feed in your administrative, that's the date, the details of the authors and the co-authors, and also a background of your systematic review. What is the rationale for doing this systematic review, and what is the context, what is informing the development of this systematic review. So that all is very well stipulated out in the protocol. And the methods on how you're going to recruit or include the papers, how you're going to select them out, and how you're going to assess bias, and also how you're going to extract the data, and also how you're going to analyze the same data. So that is what the protocol contains, okay? Of course, not forgetting the evaluation stage where you have the synthesis. How are you going to merge this data? how are you going to analyze it? How are you going to present it? Okay, that is what we mean by the synthesis and reporting. So the other component, so usually what we use the Prosperos and the OSFC, the Open Science Framework. This is not, this is the slide somewhere. We shall look at it. So formulating a strong research, strong review question is very important. And remember, in our last presentation last weekend, we discussed about formulation of research question. Okay, so it is very, very important that you formulate a very strong review question. And this comes in the protocol as well. Okay, you have to very well stipulate it right there. And also, if you have objective, you also put them there. So you either decide to either put a research question that is very smart, or you break it down, you break the topic down into maybe objectives. Okay, so all this is guided by the framework, that is the PICOS, the PECO, or the SPIDER. Okay, here I've tried to categorize that the PICOS, where there is the PI, it is mostly used for the quantitative, where you have an intervention. And the PECO, the E here, is for exposure, for observational, like cross-sectional studies, and the SPIDER for qualitative analysis. So as you get to understanding the question, as I told you earlier on, we need to do what you call a scooping. You do what you do a preliminary scooping review to understand the reason actually why you're doing this systematic review. So as you collect all this information, trying to do your preliminary, I think you can call it as a preliminary review, you're trying to understand the matter, the context, the problem that will inform your systematic review. So you go on sieving it down until you get that primary question that is very strong and that you want to answer. So that is the funnel on your left, and that is what it means. So, so after developing this protocol, or even if you haven't developed the protocol, you may really need to register this protocol so that you are able to be transparent, and also you are able to secure this protocol as your own. Okay, to prevent also duplication of the same systematic review. So what I've seen with the researchers, they wait to register the protocol as they develop the protocol, the document. So registration and the protocol, registration of the protocol and developing a protocol is quite different. Okay, registration of a protocol, if you have your research question very well, you have the background, the context, you have your supervisors ready. Okay, you can go into these registers, the Prospero or the ASF, and register your protocol. Because in these registers, that's when they ask you, do you have a fully developed written protocol? Where you can either say, I have it, or I don't have it, or it is under development. Okay, so when you develop the protocol, the document now is what I mean, then you can attach it to the register. So you can go and register your protocol before you develop the document, the protocol. I don't know whether that is very clear, but as we move along, you really understand it. So the inclusion and the exclusion is part also of the protocol, where you specifically set out limits in the population, whether you want females, whether you want adolescents, in the intervention, whether you want an intervention and the effects of an intervention, and which intervention do you need to compare this intervention with the placebo or another. Where also in the inclusion, you can also stipulate out the designs that you'll include, whether you'll go with randomized study designs or non-randomized, and if they're randomized, do you go for only clinical trials or non-clinical trials? So time in terms of the framework? Do you need papers maybe from the genesis of the databases till date, or you've stipulated out a time? Maybe I'll only review papers in the last 10 years, in the last 20 years, maybe from 2015 to 2025, or from 2000 to 2025. Those are around like 50, 25 years, 15 years, or 10 years. So that's what we mean by time frame. And also the language. Do you need to a systematic review that is composing of all the languages, all the papers that are written in the different languages? Are you going to include them? So that one depends on the language that you really understand as you, the PI. Okay. If you don't understand Arabic, there is no reason to why you include it. Maybe you exclude, and maybe say I'll only include English papers. Okay. So that is in the context of inclusion and exclusion. Okay. Criteria that is supposed to be part of your protocol. So the methodology, I already explained briefly about this, where you have to stipulate all the design that you're going to use and how you're going to collect this data, and who is going to collect it. Is it going to be you, doing the search as an independent person, or it is going to be dual independent screening and selection of papers, where I can, since I have a search strategy, put it into the drive, into the database, I put the limitations, and then I extract papers. In the same manner, Mr. Godfrey would also do the same. That's when we have dual independent um, uh, extraction and screening. Okay, you're two people, but independently following the methodology and extracting out the desired or the appropriate papers. So that is what we mean by the dual independent, but also we can also have it in a manner that it comes in a manner that I do as an independent person to screen, and then I give you my results to confirm whether what I've screened is the same output you're also getting. So that is really different, that you're just confirming my outputs, okay? Yeah, or you can have it as a single, but that one also brings in bias, where you're doing everything as alone. You're the one extracting the data alone, you're the one screening alone, you're the one analyzing alone, okay? That one creates a selection bias or screening bias. So under the methodology, you also stipulate out on how data is going to be extracted, and the plan for synthesis and evaluation of this data from the different papers that you get throughout your search. So the different sources where we get these papers. So there is a difference between a database and a journal. Okay. Usually it confuses researchers. Okay. So how can I make it clear for you to understand? A journal, let me give this example. A journal is like a tray, a crate of soda, okay? And the bottles are the papers. So the journal is where you submit all these papers, okay? It's where you submit your papers for publication. That is a journal. So that is like a crate, which is the journal, and the sodas are the articles, okay? Now, for a database, it is a collection of those journals, okay? Like now where you have a store, okay, for Coca-Cola. So that is like now Scoopers, okay? A collection of these journals where you submitted your article, okay? So the different databases can still have the same paper, okay? So a journal, maybe BMC, can be in the Scopus database and also in PubMed, okay? So when you do your data extraction, you might get a paper in the Scopus, and also when you also do a search in PubMed, you get the same paper. That's why at one point in time when we are screening, we have to remove the duplicates. Okay, that is how it comes in, and that's how duplicates come in into your screening. So we also have sources like Gray literature. So Gray literature could be uh, institutional repositories. Different universities have their archives where they have their theses or reports for student dissertations. So that is Gray literature where there is no peer review. Okay. And also there is also what we call citation tracking. So citation tracking, you can have backward or forward citation tracking. So for forward citation tracking, I think let me start with the backward. The backward citation citation tracking is where you pick out a paper that maybe from the other databases that we've talked about, and you see that this paper really is talking or is addressing the matter, your research question. Okay, so when you see that this paper addresses your research question, you can look through its references and you see which references this paper used. So if the references fall within your time frame, then you can consider those references for your review. That is backward. You are looking at papers that were published way back, that paper that you pulled out. Okay? Then for forward citation, you get this paper that is answering your research question, and you look at you go maybe in Google Scholar and you look out for papers that cited that paper. Okay, so when you cite, that means this paper was already published and people were citing it, so that is forward citation tracking. I hope that is very, very clear. So we have backward and forward citation tracking. So so the key search, developing the search strategy. In the previous presentation, I think we had developing a research question. So through your research question, it informs how you are going to get these how you're going to develop your search strategy. So by picking out or identifying the key concepts or the key words within your research question that will be used to formulate your research strategy. So these keywords we can also utilize some other synonyms that perhaps mean the same words like your keywords, or we can also look out what we call the subject headings, okay, that also represent or are similar to your keywords that you picked from your research question. So when we pick these words that might mean the same thing, then we can join them with what we call the Boolean operators. That is or, not, and. So the video that I told you to watch, I very well explained the use of Boolean operators. So in this presentation, I'm not going to go into the depth, but you watch that previous video that is on YouTube. But in our practice, maybe under our Google Meet, I may show you how these operate, the Boolean logic or the Boolean operators. So if you limit yourself with the search terms, okay? You look on my left, there is a net trying to capture fish. So when you limit yourself with few such terms or few words to mean the similar term, you're going to have a very small net, and that means it will only capture a few articles. But when you have a broad search strategy with multiple terms that mean the same thing, combined with the Boolean operators, you're going to really get it's like getting a huge net, and that means even the number of fish that will capture, which are the articles, will also be many. So you've broadened, you've expanded your reach in terms of search. So that is why we need to have all these keywords with the different synonyms, and we need to use the Boolean operators to focus our search and also to broaden it. So those ones are already discussed somewhere else. So the search limits or the filters. So the filters somewhat it may not differ so much from your eligibility criteria. However, different databases have different filters. Some databases don't have the language filter, so you may not apply the filter for language, despite the fact that you mentioned it in your eligibility that you're going to only include English. So some databases cannot give you a filter where you only tick English. I think databases, I may not give examples right now, but we can look forward to them. Then some databases also don't give, they don't give types of paper, maybe articles, reports, so that you can also um, limit that I'm only looking at articles, I'm not taking reports. Okay, so those are what we mean like limits and filters. So most of the time we apply the eligibility criteria, and these filters are possibly left out. Okay, because some of the time you apply a filter and it will narrow down your search, and you'll actually end up not having comprehensively extracted enough papers. So be cautious when you're applying these filters. Okay, if you apply a filter in one database, make sure maybe it appears in the next database that you're also including, or you see how best this filter can be applied throughout. Okay, either through the database or either through the screening, and make it very clear when you're reporting in the schematic review report. Make it clear to us that by being transparent enough, and tell us what filters you applied in the different databases. Okay, so so there is, we also currently we need really to use AI, okay, in the different endeavors as we're planning to develop a protocol and also developing the schematic review itself. But you really need to use it with cautious because it also has the cons and the pros. So you need to have learned the proper way of use of AI, but it can really help you in identifying the keywords and the synonyms, and it can help you to really be able to expand your search. It can also help you in abstract screening, okay, where you need to screen out some of the papers based on the title and the abstract to see whether they meet your eligibility criteria. And also AI can help you in visualizing the connection between these different papers that you've extracted and the citations. So we can look at that going forward in our practical discussions. So AI really poses strength and the limitations that you really need to be conscious about. It offers significant advantages and efficiency, and it's time saving. However, if you put in a biased algorithm, that means your output will also be biased. If you don't really communicate on how you used it, that means you're not being transparent enough, and your results will also be put at stake. They will also be biased. So it is optimal for optimal outputs. Indeed, you need to have your AI outputs humanized. Okay, you need to humanize them. You need to have a human touch to strengthen your judgment, so that we don't have a computer influenced judgment, something like that. So the best practices at the end of this presentation. Ensure your protocol integrity is ensuring your protocol integrity is really very crucial for the validity of your output. And conducting a comprehensive search is really significant in reducing the bias. If your search strategy is not really comprehensive enough, that means you've left out many papers, and that means your systematic review is biased, okay? And it won't actually even inform the intended results because it's having few papers, okay? So, and also, you should also take note that you need to thoroughly document every step that you go through your systematic review in the protocol and also in the reporting, okay? So that is the pre and the post. And this will allow for reproducibility and also enhances transparency. So a systematic review thrives on the solid protocol and search framework. So no protocol, you really, if you have no protocol, you will fall into having biased results, biased output. You will fall into having different changes since you have not planned on how you have to maneuver throughout the data extraction, the data analysis. So indeed, if you don't have a protocol, a solid protocol, you are likely to face lots of challenges throughout your development of systematic review. So I encourage you all to develop a protocol and also register your protocol in the stipulated registries. So that ends this presentation, and I would like Mr. Godfrey to share to us the link to the Google Meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Maiga.
You're welcome. Can you have the Google Meet? Mr. Godfrey, can you have the Google Meet shared?
Sorry. I've been speaking while muted, but I'm sharing it here. Let's just tap the link and we join.
Yes, let's have it shared. And please join in for more questions. I'm very sure for what we've discussed right now, people have lots of questions. So kindly join in and ask your questions, and then we call this a day, since we've had it really late, and I don't want to enter into your other programs.
I don't know why it is not coming.
It should come. It should come, please.
Let me share it with you and you post, because I'm seeing I'm posting it, but it's not, message is not failing to get delivered.
Okay, let me see if I can create one here and send it to you direct.
I've shared with you. No, not this one.
Mr. Godfrey?
Yes.
I think I'm sharing a link right now.
Okay, then that's okay.
Thank you. Members, I've shared a link right now. I think you can join in. I'm sharing it also on the group. Okay. Okay, I stop this meeting and let's join.